Fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery. I'm Al Warren. Got Mr. Michael Hawley as the co-host today.
That is correct.
Yeah.
You bet. I'm here.
You're here. You're here. And not watching the Olympics. My God.
I know. I'm just rewatching Buffalo Bills stuff because, I'm a Bills Mafia guy,
That's sad. Well, I mean, hey, I can't complain. I haven't really been watching either. I've been so busy. But,
Yeah.
I did see the Canadian curling controversy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, and you see that Canadian, the guy, boy, potty mouth. Holy cow.
Gee.
Live on TV. He swore. I
Gee.
was surprised. It's not very Canadian. That's not very cool.
We know all the swear words, Stu.
Yeah, but I'm not used to that live on TV. Holy
Yes,
cow.
yes.
But that's all right. So we brought on a Canadian author to tell us, to defend why they were cheating and swearing. No, just no. We brought on Canadian author J.M. Shaw, and we're going to talk about her series of books, the Callum Walker novel series, and I believe there's 4 books. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So what led you to cheat in the Olympics like that? No.
I don't have anything to do with the Olympics, and I don't represent those people.
I was shocked when that came across the news cycle. It's like, what? No.
Yeah, I tend to avoid the news for obvious reasons. It's all negative, and I'd rather not be stressed.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree totally. I totally, working with the station, I see the headline links come across, and then I just didn't expect to see Canadian curling Olympic cheating turmoil or like these headlines. I was like, what? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I've never done curling in my life, so I can't speak to any of it. So
No, I know. Yeah, I know. But anyway, so listen, when we get into this, because you are kind of a young adult dark fantasy writer with these series, stuff like that. So for us older guys, how would you describe dark fantasy? What is that? What does it mean? Because why I say that is because in my day, in the 60s and 70s, and Michael's day, we're the same age. Everything was sci-fi. You know what I mean?
I guess dark fantasy would be those elements of fantasy that the stakes are bigger, the threat is bigger, the adventure is bigger, and it can go on, it doesn't happen all in one story that extends across multiple books in my series, and we follow the character through these adventures. I do try to weave in real life things into my character, like real emotions, real thoughts. I present wholesome messages, like life lessons that I've learned along the way, but there's also this adventure to keep you entertained. As for the young adult, new adult genre, that's like young, teenagers, 20-year-olds, but a lot of my audience is men and women my age. So there's a little bit for everybody there. I guess that genre, the young adult, new adult, all that means is there's some swear words, there's all that adventure and action. Hints of romance, but I don't go into sex scenes.
Now, do you create a world of your own and put your characters into it? Is that kind of how it goes?
Yeah, so in my series, there's our world, our time, and then there's a coexisting magical realm, but there's a veil that separates us. We can't see across this veil because we don't have magic, but these creatures that do can and have, and they've been the source of inspiration for our fairy tales and monster stories. And then my main character is a young man by the name of Callum Walker, who was born with the ability to use magic. Because of that, he's able to cross this veil, or rather he's dragged across this veil, not knowing it existed. And then we are following him through the series as he's trying to figure out who he is and where he belongs, because he's too magic for here, too human for there. And so my magical realm, because I've always associated magic and medieval times or lots of nature elements, it's a very medieval type setting. and they don't have a lot of technology because they don't need it.
So he was dragged into that. Like, you sure it wasn't just a hangover and he woke up?
Well, no, he was dragged. He was taken prisoner, and he was dragged across a veil that first time.
So they can see our side though.
Yep, they can see us, and they've watched us. Our societies evolve since the veil was created, but they tend to avoid us and don't interfere. So they know we are there. They know, what we're doing and, what our societies are like and stuff. But they still have their own traditions.
We're all on our cell phones. That's just
yeah.
how it is now.
We're all zombies, digital zombies.
That's right.
Well, and so Callum Walker, who is that person? Like, how would you describe Callum?
So Callum is, he would just rather be a typical young man just making his way through life. But he was born with these magical abilities, and he doesn't know why, and he's trying to make the most of it because he figures that if he has them, that there must be a reason why. So we see him in the beginning of the series. He's setting out to go, make the best use he can of his abilities by hunting monsters in the city that he's living in, not realizing that they are coming across this veil from this magical realm. And then he gets, in the first book, the Ascension, he doesn't realize that there is this war, this conflict that's going on between these brothers, one who was born with magic like him, and another one who has to steal magic in order to be able to use it. And they're both competing for domination over the other, and triumph and victory over this magical realm so that they can claim it for themselves. And then Callum kind of gets stuck in the middle, caught in the middle, so the one side wants to steal his powers to grow their own, the other one just wants to, to eliminate the challenge.
Are you writing from his point of view throughout all 4 books?
The point of views change in the chapters, so majority of the chapters are from his point of view, but I do switch into other characters so that we can see the world through their eyes, we can see the protagonist through their eyes, and which was really fun, jumping into my inner bad guy and trying to create those.
Is that your favorite characters to write, is the bad people?
They do tend to have a lot more fun because they're not limited by rules and they get to have all the freedom, whereas the good guys, they still have to kind of abide by the rules and try not to hurt anybody.
When you started this, did you have kind of the whole series laid out of kind of where you're going, beginning, middle, end, and then you just sort of write the books throughout, or does it come as it goes type thing?
I knew where the series is going to end, and I knew approximately what major events needed to happen to kind of progress towards that ending. But the plots for each books are constantly evolving. So I didn't intend to be writing 5 books. I'm working on my 5th book. I plotted for my 6th, and I thought that the series would be finished by now. But as I go, I keep saying, okay, there's something else that I need to add. I keep coming up with ideas. But I do know that there is an ending, and I know approximately where we're almost there.
It's really interesting. Where do you get all the characters and stuff? And how do you keep track of them?
They're all in my head. I mean, I do have the names, and there's occasions where I'm looking for details, and I'll have to go back to my first book. It's like, okay, how many years old was this elf? Okay, there we go. That's fine. But those specific details I do have to write down. But otherwise, I understand my characters' motivations, their histories, where they're heading to. I know which characters I'm going to have to, and cut out of the story eventually, and how. So, and they're all in my head. They're kind of just rattling around in there.
That can be really confusing, right? So when you're working with characters and developing them, and somewhat certain characters more than others, do you hear your characters then, or do you see them, feel them? How do you work with your characters, so to speak? I guess that's the best way to say it. Yeah, well, I envision myself in their shoes, and how would I respond in the different situations. I know where their past is. I know what events brought them to this point in their life. And I try to envision, okay, how would I respond if I were in their situation? If I grew up in the, home environment that they grew up in, how would I feel? How would I react? I do kind of envision my characters based off of somebody, not somebody I know but maybe a character from a book or a movie. Like, for example, there is a character in my 3rd novel. He shows up there. His name is Jax Foster. And in my head, I visualize him
as kind of that moose character from the Jughead Archie comics. Act first, think later, looks like a big tough guy, but he's really a softie.
Do you have a subtext or a meaning when you do each novel?
I do. I have a theme, and sometimes the themes kind of cross from one book and it kind of carries on into the next. But the themes, I mean, if you break them down, they're all the same, and it's all about self-acceptance, the importance of family and friends, finding that sense of belonging, and those are themes that carry throughout. But each book, I don't want to say that each book has a meaning so much as a mood and a feeling.
Your very first novel, you had made a comment in the past about redoing that one
Mm-hmm.
and adding a few more chapters to it, having another editor. Is that what? So it's the same story. You just enriched it, or how'd that go?
Exactly. When I wrote it, I was starting out in my publishing journey. I just last year published my 4th book in the series, and I switched editors, and they did such a tremendous job that I was starting to think that at this stage in my writing, what if I go back to the beginning and I look, because there were characters in the first book that are pivotal characters later in the series, but I never gave them a voice. I also found out that within the past year and a half, that I also have dyslexia. So I do tend to miss a couple words here and there. So I figured, well, new editor, let's go back and fix those typos that we missed in the editing. Anything that my readers pointed out to me, clarify some things, and go ahead and add some new material, some new history, expand on the plot, deepen my characters with the skills that I've learned as I went.
When you're doing something like this, does it sort of affect how you write? Like as you go through each book, do you come out of it differently, and does it make you a different person, do you think?
Absolutely. Like, they say the best way to become a better writer is to write. And I do see that in my writing, especially in my rough draft, because that's what nobody else sees. And then I send it to my editor, and, my rough writing is becoming better, and my editor's job is becoming a little less intensive. But I'm also feeling more confident in my writing. So those things that I was self-doubting, character descriptions was a big thing, dialogue, action scenes. And in my head, when I started out, I was like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? And then it was, is this enough? Is this enough? And now it's like, I know where to cut. I know how much to include. So I do change with each book, and I just get better.
Well, that's interesting. So I guess you kind of know where you're going to go with this, or how many more you're going to do.
Yes. I'm aiming for between 6 and 9 books in this series, and I do know where it's going to end. And as I'm working on the 5th, I realize that I am getting closer to that ending. There are other projects I'd like to do, so it'd be nice to end in the series, but I'll still feel fondness for this series because it's my first.
When you do dialogue, how do you act that out? Do you are you the type of person that's sitting in the room and you kind of work the dialogue, speak it out loud to each of the characters doing it? Do you put yourself in that scenery, or is it something a little bit more quiet? I don't know. No,
it's I hear the conversation playing out in my head. I hear my characters' voices, and they've each got their own voices, and I imagine what they're saying back and forth to each other. Sometimes, as my kids would say, "Mom, who are you talking to?" Because I sometimes do vocalize it. But so I tend to not do that in public spaces, because then people tend to look at you weird, and you can't just always explain it away with, "I'm an author."
Well, if you just walk around with a cell phone and pretend you're talking to someone, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, but then I have 2 different voices, and I'm answering my conversation.
Well, I'm just trying to help. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So now, when you said that there's no sex in it, so how about the violence and stuff? How far does the violence go?
I don't tend to dwell on it unless it's necessary for the scene. I also don't want to shy away from things, but it's probably like I do try to keep it young adult worthy. There is some situations, and I know with my kids, even because my kids are 9 and 11, so if it's something that I wouldn't want my kids to read about, I don't tend to put it in my books. And I do focus on other things besides just the violence.
So, do you think about your reader as you're writing the books? Are you thinking about that, or?
I think about my reader mostly when I'm editing my books. When I'm doing my rough draft, I'm thinking about just getting the story that I am trying to say, my story, out on paper. And then when I'm editing it, that's when I'm refining it and starting to think about word usage and sentence flow and that kind of stuff for readability.
So who in real life have you killed off in your books?
I mean, I've never killed anybody in real life.
No, but we want to see in the books, like is there a neighbor or somebody that you
Boss.
Well, there is a
She's not-
character in my first book who doesn't make it through the book. And this character has, and so I wrote this book before our neighbors moved in. And our neighbor's son has the same name as this character that doesn't make it through the book that I ended. And my kids keep asking me, it's like, Mom, why did you kill him? And I was like, I didn't even know him at the time. It was a name.
It was a name.
Yeah.
So when the series is done, you're going to continue with this sort of writing, or are you going to do a different thing like romance or mystery or something else?
I don't know if I'm going to do, but the only thing I don't like is I don't like history because I will fall asleep if I'm trying to do history. It's just not my thing. I'm not a big fan of spicy romance. I mean, I've read some spicy romance, and if there's enough depth and other plot points to keep me entertained, I have no problems fast forwarding through some of the spicier chapters. But writing romance and spice it's just not my thing. I get very bored easily. I am working on a dystopian Robin Hood meets Romeo and Juliet with hints of Hunger Game type novel. But I'd like to also branch into sci-fi, thriller, paranormal, anything except history and spicy romance, basically.
Wow. So when you say that with the paranormal too, with the elements, like even in this series, what kind of elements do you put into it?
So in my series, I have obviously magic because it's a fantasy. It's the dark fantasy, so the stakes are bigger, the emotions, the threats, the adventure is bigger. I've got a lot of action because I get bored easily. I'm a big fan of like Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, supernatural TV series, those kind of elements. They're inspirational elements. I also have some supernatural elements and some suspense. There's a lot of crossover from all the genres. So,
Question that, like Halloween or Samhain, there's stories about there's a veil between our world and the other world. Did you know about that, or is it a connection to that at all?
Not specifically that, but the coexisting or separated worlds and stuff is it's a common plot point that exists out there. It's quite common. There's no original ideas. It's just everybody does it their own way, or they focus on different elements. I focus a lot on character development.
So when you have magic and stuff, are you kind of using the same rules that you'd see in popular culture, like in general?
Maybe. I was a big player of World of Warcraft. And they have a mana system, and mana it's similar to your life, but not really. And what it is they draw from this mana pool that they use to power their spells, and it runs down with each spell until they have none. And so my magic system is, instead of a mana system, you can draw from your living energy. So casting a really big spell would drain your strength and your stamina, no different than running 5 kilometer or 3 mile, doing a 3 mile run. So it'd be physically draining as well as mentally draining.
And so in this book, are there some characters that you ended up being more than you kind of planned them to be?
Absolutely. There was a few of them actually, where I had a specific purpose for them. I designed them for that purpose, and they just sort of took on a life of their own and said, "Ha ha, so much for your plot. I'm going to be an important character." And they've turned out to be very important characters. So I'm glad they took the reins.
That's an interesting process. Okay, well, let's talk about how people find J.M. Shaw. Like, are you going to be doing any book signings, going to any shows? Do you have a website, social media? Where does J.M. hang out?
Yeah, so best place to start is to check out my website at www.jmshawauthor.com. There I have an events page. It's currently empty right now, but I will be updating it. Just waiting to finalize my schedule. for book signings and other events. And I also have links to descriptions and links to all of my books. They're available online through Amazon as a print, on a Kindle, on Kobo, and Barnes and Noble as well, if you're in the US. I also have links on the bottom of my page to my Instagram and Facebook, and there's an email, and I also have a link to my Goodreads, so you can read about my books and what other people think of them.
Well, fantastic. Now, of course, we'll put all that up on our website as well, so people can find it easily. Mm-hmm. And we appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, who doesn't want to come and talk about themselves, right? Their passion, and share it.
Again,
right.
The series, it's the Callum Walker novel series, and it's J.M. Shaw. So thank you, Raj. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
This has been a production of the House of Mystery Radio Show. To find out more about our show, guests, or hosts, go to our website at houseofmysteryradio.com.